Welcome back, everyone. Well, in our never-ending quest to uncover and discover interesting businesses and people in our community, we came across a good one that's very timely and one that we would like you to know more about. Joining me today is Karen Totino. She's the owner of a very interesting company called Green Conscience. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you.
Very nice to have you here.
Happy to be here.
Probably self-evident in the title. Anything with the word green in it certainly pays tribute or more, should pay more attention to the environment. You have a very interesting background, you were telling me before we went on air here. What got you involved with just wanting to be more conscious about green?
Well, my background is in occupational therapy, so a lot of people don't know that. I have my master's degree in occupational therapy, was doing that for a number of years, and really it was the birth of my children that started it. I think that's common for everyone is, when they have their children, they start looking at things differently. And the same was for me. So I was kind of cleaning up my act and everything that was in my house. But what really called me to action was walking with my kids in my neighborhood after DPW had been there and had spray painted on the storm drains, discharges to creek, and ChemLawn had come in the same day. So as I was pulling them around the block, I was kind of getting upset because I never really realized that the water was going right into the Caterhaughs Creek. And so while I was motivated to live clean and be green for myself, that's what really prompted me to action to do something bigger and to have a bigger impact on the community.
Got it. Now you fast forward a bit,
Right.
around 2009, you realized that this went well beyond just lawn care. It went beyond what DPW was doing outside in our neighborhoods. But what about the environment that affects us the most? Our home, our interior.
Right.
And then you discovered that, whoops, we got an issue here that we could deal with, right?
Yes, for sure. And, people, because of the name of my business, I was getting a lot of questions over the years about everything green,
Yeah, sure.
I decided as I became more educated, I discovered that our indoor environment is 2 to 5 times more polluted than outside. And didn't realize that there was these things called volatile organic compounds, which are, or for short, VOCs, that outgas into our environment that we breathe in. And so there was a lot of work to do on the insides, and there was no one really offering those services. So a big principle of mine is education, is always education and teaching people. But you can teach them, but if they don't have an alternative or a solution, then that's not very helpful. So it's really about educating and providing solutions to problems.
Sure. I'm sure a lot of us can relate to this. You have your floors redone. Like for a week afterward, there's that smell in the air. You paint a room, there's that chemical smell. You put a carpet down, there's that smell, and eventually it goes away. But that's what off gases are. Those are the gases that are produced in the development of those products using the chemicals. And there are alternatives, and that's what interested us in wanting to reach out to Karen, is there are products and services available that help mitigate the impact that has on you, right?
Oh, yes, definitely.
And give me the categories: paint, flooring.
Yeah, so anything, kind of think about when you're redesigning or redecorating your home, all the things that you need to do, besides just wall finishes, floor finishes. But there's also like construction adhesives and sealers and, all sorts of things. So we have alternatives to all those things, but our primary focus is on floor finishes, wall finishes, and beds and bedding.
Got it. Okay, because I was just about to ask you if it goes into the area of furniture. I was going to ask that question, but you know what? If you think about it, what's the statistic? You spend a third of your life in bed, something like that?
Yeah.
And so that mattress itself, it's another example.
It's a big piece. I mean, I didn't really even know it myself. I had this business model where I was going to do interior finishes, and a friend of mine suggested that I was missing a big piece by not having mattresses because you do spend a third of your life. And I didn't really realize that mattresses are pretty toxic. There are a lot of chemicals coming out of our mattresses, unfortunately, and we're right on them. Our faces are on them, our bodies are on them. So it's important to have a clean organic mattress.
You know, it doesn't take much if you're my age to remember when lead was in paint. And then, you know, it's over time as, you know, people become more aware, you realize that some of these things that we took for granted, I think it was even popcorn paint, the chemical inside popcorn paint, which was very popular before you were born. But it was, you know, you find out over time. So getting ahead of it, I think, is a point that we're making here.
Yeah.
Make yourself aware of what the products are, what's contained inside the products, and also what alternatives you really realistically have, right?
Right. I mean, formaldehyde just made it as now a known carcinogen, was on the cautionary list for decades.
Gazillion years.
Yeah,
that's right,
and so finally it's kind of lumped in that category of carcinogens, but it's still in a lot of our products. So it doesn't mean it's not removed. It hasn't been removed. So yeah, I think there are a lot of alternatives. They don't necessarily cost more. It's just awareness and education and being aware of what you're trying to avoid. You know, something that can be helpful is a material safety data sheet, so an MSDS sheet.
Sure.
So that's a tool that people can use.
Yes,
you know, when they're
and they
trying
can
to find
find this out by contacting you, right?
Yeah, if they have
Good.
questions, people just. And even if I don't have a solution, you know, we always say we'll find someone that can help you or find a product, you know, that will be helpful.
So hence that education part that you seem to be very devoted to.
Right.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
that's where it starts. You know, and I joked with somebody once about an organic paint. He said, okay, so it takes an extra half hour to dry. Isn't that worth it in the long run? You know, it usually comes down to something like that, you know, in this instant gratification age that we live in. But think about that. Think about the last time you painted a room, what it smelled like, when you redid a floor, when you put wall covering on, any of those things, to become more aware of it. Well, Karen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I knew this would be very informative to us, me and our viewers. So thank you for coming in. Karen has a store right here in Saratoga, Green Conscience. Green Conscience. Check it out. Thank you, Karen. Very nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
To see this interview again, you can head to our website, looktvonline.com.